Google Maps is a lifesaver when you're lost or just trying to find your way around a new city. But sometimes it can lead you to some very creepy places. These next stories are from people who trusted Google Maps, with their lives only to be led into situations that could have ended in disaster or worse. A Reddit user asked the internet, "What's the scariest place you've ever been directed to by Google Maps?" And the responses were insane. From cemeteries to creepy houses and abandoned hospitals, these Google Maps fails will make you never trust the service again. So buckle up for creepy detours where Google Maps goes wrong. Lost in the woods. Imagine going for a peaceful walk in the woods, only to find yourself lost and stranded. It's a scary thought. But it happened to one Reddit user who took a wrong turn thanks to Google Maps. They were visiting a national park and wanted to explore the woods. But after a few hours, they realized they were lost. That's when they pulled out their phone and started following Google Maps back to the car. But the map showed them walking through the middle of a lake. Confused and concerned, they decided to keep walking until they found a ranger who helped them get back to their car safely. Down the rabbit hole. One Reddit user shared a bizarre experience they had while using Google Maps in an urban area. They noticed that the app kept directing them down narrow rabbit hole-like streets filled with creepy houses. The situation became increasingly uncomfortable as they drove past houses with boarded-up windows and no lights. Eventually, the street became so narrow that their car wouldn't fit through. Startled by what they assumed was a very unsafe neighborhood, they turned around and went back the way they came. As they drove away, they looked back at the street they had turned down and saw a person standing at the end of it motioning to them. The wrong turn. A Reddit user was backpacking through Europe when they needed to get from one city to another. They opened up Google Maps to get directions, but the app kept sending them further and further away from their destination. Frustrated, they decided to trust the app and see where it took them. What should have been a 45-minute drive turned into a 2-hour nightmare. The roads were narrow, winding, and often led them to dead ends. Finally, they made it to a small village where they parked their car and walked around to get their bearings. They soon realized that the village was abandoned, with empty buildings and overgrown paths. They turned around and headed back to their car, relieved to have escaped this eerie detour. Hospital hell. One Reddit user had a terrifying experience while using Google Maps for directions to a hospital. The app directed them down a dark and narrow road that was clearly not meant for vehicular traffic. As they struggled to navigate the rough terrain, they noticed a dilapidated building up ahead, with a sign that read "Hospital." Thinking they had finally reached their destination, they turned into the driveway only to realize that the hospital was nothing more than a crumbling ruin. The windows were boarded up, the paint was peeling, and the entire structure looked like it had been abandoned for decades. They turned around and fled, shaken by the disturbing sight. Final destination. A Reddit user was traveling with their family when their GPS system suddenly took them off the highway and onto a deserted back road. The road was dark and narrow, with tall trees lining both sides of the path. As they drove, the atmosphere became increasingly eerie, and their GPS led them all the way to a cemetery. To make matters worse, the cemetery was completely deserted, and the gates were locked, leaving them stranded in the middle of nowhere. They eventually found their way out of the cemetery and back onto the main road, shaken by the experience. Beware of Google Maps. These creepy detours are a reminder that technology can sometimes lead us astray. But there's also a human element to these stories, as many of these places were simply added to Google Maps by mistake or are the result of outdated information. Either way, these creepy detours are sure to give you nightmares. Now it's time to take a detour from this video. Click on this video on screen now to see more scary stories that will give you nightmares. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for more spine-chilling content. Thanks for watching. Google Maps is a handy tool that most of us use on a daily basis.